Hello, welcome to a new video. In today's video we're going to take a look at basically 10 essential steps to get from Ace to Legend for the Go Battle League, on how to start into the Go Battle League and how to improve your gameplay, what is important, what Pokemon you want to choose, and everything we're going to take a look at here today. Hopefully you enjoy this type of video. If you do, feel free to leave a like. If you want to see more like this, then subscribe to the channel as well, especially if you're new here. We have a lot of good content coming up towards Pokemon Go PvP. But before we start into the video, one word from our sponsor today. This video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. FlexiSpot is very cool because we already have the second time here now a sponsored video from them. You see also a link in the description as well as a code on the screen right now that you can choose to also get some nice 7% off. And as you can see here, we're going to have a very nice chair that I have now from FlexiSpot for this video sponsored. This chair is amazing. I love this one so much. It's very comfy to sit on. Like honestly, all the products I have from FlexiSpot so far, I have already this table here as well that got sponsored before. They're just lovely. Like honestly, the products are nice. I have two tables from FlexiSpot. I have this chair from FlexiSpot, and everything they had so far were great. I can highly recommend you this one, especially as someone who is a little bit silly at building things up. It is very easy to build up the stuff from them because they have like kind of all the screws or whatever in like the certain like in the small packages that you always just have to use for that one step and nothing else, and just super easy to do. Honestly, thanks so much for sponsoring this video again here. I just love the products. The company is great. Thanks so much for this one. Feel free to get your own products down with a link in the description. And yeah, we're gonna move on now to this video. So, first off, we're going to have to understand the cups that are currently available in Pokemon Go. There are 3 standard cups in the Great League, Ultra League and Master League. The Great League allows to run Pokemon below 1500 CP range, where you're going to see like commonly Pokemon like a Germnaa, like Broguiere, like the Mandibuzz that dominate the meta there. You're going to try to have Pokemon that cannot fit that CP cap. You might think all legendaries that might be going below that are very strong. It is usually not the case, but we're going to talk a little bit about this in a later part of this video. Otherwise, we're going to have the Ultra League, where the cap is 2500 CP, where you're going to see more bulkier Pokemon like Giratina, like Cristian, like Registeel, a lot of XL Pokemon as well. They're very well shining in this meta. And finally, we're going to have the Master League available. This Master League is going to allow you basically to use any kind of Pokemon with any kind of CP limit. It doesn't really matter. You can have fully maxed out level 50 Dialga, Mewtwo, Kyogre, whatever legendary Pokemon you want to run, or non-legendary Pokemon like Rhyperior, which are very strong in this one. And yeah, Master League is basically having no real limits in this one. You're not allowed to use any Mega Evolution or anything like this. But otherwise, there are also other special cups usually going on throughout the season, like the Element Cup, the Kanto Cup, or the Halloween Cup, which all have like their own kind of rule set, which is here on the website of Pokemon Go as well, if you want to take a look at them. But yeah, those are going to be the cups that are currently available in Pokemon Go usually, and we can move on to the next step. So, step number 2, we're going to take a look here on how to find the best Pokemon to run for the specific metas. So, you're going to try to get into a meta and you don't really know what you want to run. How can you find out which Pokemon are good or not, or which Pokemon are worth building or not? And the main way of doing this is, of course, checking out my channel, because I have top team videos every single time, plus meta analysis in those as well for every kind of new league. But otherwise, you can also take a look at the website PvPoke, which is my favorite and the most important website for Pokemon Go PvP, where you want to have rankings. Those rankings going to allow you to basically see what Pokemon are available in each kind of format that's currently available. And for the 3 main formats, they also usually have some suggested teams that you can run as well. Just like also, of course, on my YouTube channel here as well, we're going to have top teams for that one. But what you can see there as well is going to be, for example, the ideal moveset, which we're going to talk about there as well. But anyway, otherwise, good ways of finding good teams is just usually YouTube or Twitch. Like content creators that showcase their battles is always a great way of starting out. For example, for myself, I started also PvP where I had like no idea before that. Like there were like some non-official formats before already Go Battle League started. But I was just watching YouTube creators and Twitch creators in order to improve my skills and see what I have to run. And this helped me out really much in the beginning there, so definitely subscribe to this channel as well if you want to see some of my gameplay at least, but it really helps out to improve your gameplay for sure. Step number 3 is going to also be very important, as just said before. It's how to choose the right moveset for for Pokemon, and this is something that people kind of underestimate. And you might think, like, for the veteran people who already did a ton of battles, it's like, oh, it's easy, which kind of moves are good or not. It is not easy if you start into it. I had a lot of people in my local community that started PvP and kind of dropped it because I thought everybody was cheating, but they were running, for example, Deoxys defense with the step move Zen Headbutt. Zen Headbutt is a horrible fast move that you don't want to run at all, while counter was at this point, like, not anymore really as well, the best move that you can go forward. They were just so confused why their Pokemon weren't able to perform, and this is because fast moves and charge moves are not really displayed correctly in the game of Pokemon Go itself. And again, here PvP can really help you. Just generally speaking, if you start into a PvP, the standard moveset that is on PvP is kind of the one that you want to go for. You don't really have to think about it too much. If you have specific metas, if you have a little bit more knowledge, you can change up some movesets as well. If you know the moves correctly as well, there is a tab where you can see all the stats for every move on PvP as well. I would really recommend you to go on and check out what is good or not. For example, fast moves that are really good would be something like Shadow Claw, Incinerate, or the Rollout, or the Water Shuriken. And charge moves that are very good are, for example, the Leaf Blade, a move that is very, very low energy, high damage. That's kind of what you want to have anyway. But yeah, this is kind of what is important for the moves. Like, usually just if you want to start into PvP, just go what PvP says. To be fair, it is usually the best way of going forward. Next up, we're gonna take a look here at IVs. IVs, are also individual values, are going to be very important for PvP, and it's definitely a little bit different towards what you usually know from like the PvE. PvE is usually you want to have 100% IV Pokemon. This is sometimes the case as well for PvP. One case, of course, is going to be the Master League, where you don't have a limitation. But as soon as you're going to be in a meta where limitations are there, like the Great League or the Ultra League, where you can only be under 1500 or 2500 CP, Pokemon with a low attack stat all of a sudden are very interesting. Why is it the case? For the CP formula, attack is weighted way higher than defense or HP. So if you have a low attack stat, you're going to be able to get way more defense and HP stats in compared to if you have a high attack stat, as like attack just puts so much more into the CP formula. So if you have a high attack stat, your CP raises way more than compared if you have, like, for example, a high defense or a high HP stat. And so for PvP, for a lot of Pokemon, it is very important to have like good PvP stats where you have low attack, high defense, high HP, but there are also things that can help you. For example, there are tools like online on PvP, you can put your Pokemon in and see what rank they are. So if the rank is very low, it's very, very good for you. But also on Pokegenie, for example, it's like an app that you can download where you can just check it in your phone as well. Stuff like this is definitely something that you can do in order to find the best IV spread for yourself. Generally speaking, I wouldn't really worry too much about the IV spread starting into PvP, because you can, for example, just use like anything that's in the top 500, for example. This would be working out totally fine. Just if you really want to be completely tryhard into PvP, there are very good IV ranks that are basically going to help you out winning some certain matchups. But also a lot of times there are certain IV spreads as well. They are not like the number one rank one there that can help you out in certain matchups as well. For example, if you have a little bit more HP investment, you might be able to swipe some certain moves, or a little bit more defense investment compared to HP in order to get bulk points, which means that the opponent's fast move does one less damage every single time they use it compared to if you wouldn't have that defense stat. There's also kind of interesting stuff towards attack. Having a little bit of attack investment can help you out as well. There's, for example, the CMP tie. So if two Pokemon try to go for the charge move at the same time, whoever has the higher attack stat total, not like the IV's attack stat, just the total attack stat, is going to be able to move first. And so if you're going to have common Pokemon that you see the entire time that go up against each other, so for example, two Feraligatr, the Feraligatr that might have like 3 attack is going to be able to win the CMP tie and win the matchup for itself, which is very important in a lot of games. So definitely something to look at. But generally speaking, having low attack, high defense and high HP, and getting to that 1500 or 2500 CP range is really important to get like the best kind of Pokemon out of there. And that's something that you can see as well with, like, for example, Pokegenie as an app that you can download, or PvP Online. One more thing that's also kind of underestimated that I also see a lot of people struggling with is basically trying to master typings. While a lot of people are aware of, for example, water being weak to electric and grass type Pokemon, it is not always too clear with like double typings. I see a lot of people struggling to see directly which Pokemon they want to swap into what other Pokemon, and the best way of kind of trading this as well is just doing battles. Just doing battles, and before you go into the battle, take a look at the team that you want to run, and always think about, okay, if the opponent has this Pokemon swapped into you, what would you want to swap into it? And so basically, you already cannot try to figure out how to react against common Pokemon at the same time. It's gonna take some time, but it's very important because being fast in PvP for Pokemon Go is very important. Like, taking half a second longer to switch out can completely change matchups, and this is something that you have to definitely, get done quite quickly, I would say, in order to climb up fast as well, to just be able to swap out kind of nearly instantaneously based on the typing that you're gonna see from the opponent. And that's just something that's very, very important for PvP for sure, and something that you cannot train by just doing battles, to be fair, and kind of just thinking, okay, what Pokemon do I want to swap in for this common Pokemon that could swap in against me? The next section is actually a very big section usually, but I'm going to try to keep it kind of small because I made a separate video already towards this one, which I'm going to link here as well, and most likely even in the end card. We're going to take a look here at team building and team building styles. For example, there is the most common one and the easiest one to kind of practice as well is the ABB style strategy for team building. What this means is you have a Pokemon in the lead and 2 Pokemon in the back that are going to be functioning very great together. For example, you want to have an Azumarill in the lead, which is going to be weak, for example, against something like a grass type Pokemon or like a poison type Pokemon, and then you can have something like a lone Marowak in the back, which is going to be good against those Pokemon, while a lone Marowak might be a little bit weak against like ground, and a rock type Pokemon, Azumarill, can cover those weaknesses. So I have like 2 Pokemon that can cover each other's weaknesses, and as a safe swap, you kind of want to have a Pokemon as well that's going to be also still able to cover your lead's weakness, because if your lead is going to be in a very bad spot in the beginning, you kind of want to swap out, but you definitely need to have basically 2 answers still to the Pokemon that you have in the lead. And so this is going to be one of the easiest ways of team building. Generally speaking, balanced teams are a little bit easier to play in the beginning. Like the more advanced players a lot of times run ABA style lines, which are very unbalanced lines. But again, I made an entire video about this. Check this one out on my channel. Over 10 minutes of just talking about how to team build. Definitely check this one out, and we can now move on to the next point. The next point is also very important when you go into PvP, and it's something that I can just kind of train. It is fast move timing. It is very important on when to throw your fast moves and charge moves in order to perfectly align this. One thing that you just have to notice basically, when you battle against the opponents, basically the fast moves always have different turn durations. Reaches from 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 turn durations. Every turn means half a second, so the longest animation of a fast move is Incinerate with a 2.5 second animation. But when do you want to throw your charge move basically? The ideal way of throwing your charge move is 1 turn minus the opponent's turn. Basically, for example, you have a 3-turn move on your own, the opponent has Incinerate, a 5-turn fast move against you. When you want to throw is basically after 2 of the opponent's fast moves and 3 of your fast moves. 2 times 5 from the opponent is 10, 3 times 3 is 9 for you. You have -1 of the opponent's turn to throw your charge move. With this, you give the opponent the least amount of free turns basically, where they just get their energy and their fast move in, but you also prevent them from sneaking in an extra move. If you would throw your charge move on the same turn as the opponent's fast move ends and they go for an extra fast move, especially for Incinerate, it's kind of devastating, because if this happens against Incinerate, they get a free Incinerate in, which is 2.5 seconds of a free fast move where you don't do anything at the same time. They get 20 energy, 20 damage onto you, and this can be definitely game changing. So knowing when to throw your fast move and when to throw your charge moves is very important for PvP. And again, you kind of want to aim it's not going to work out all the time, of course, because the opponent can also maybe go for a charge move before you get into those scenarios, but you kind of want to aim to be always like a 1 turn less than the opponent's turn when you throw your charge move. So again, for when the opponent goes for 2 Incinerates, there are 10 turns, you want to throw at your own 9 turns. So for a 3-turn move, you kind of want to go ahead and go after 3 of them. If you have a 2-turn move, it's not going to work out. You would end up at either 10 or 8, and 8 is then the better option for you, so the opponent doesn't sneak in the move. But if you think a little bit further, if you can, for example, go for 7 2-turn fast moves, you end up at 14 turns. If the opponent goes for 3 Incinerates, they end up at 15 turns, and you have again a perfect alignment of fast moves. And this is very important for PvP, just in order to give the opponent the least amount of free fast moves and the least amount of free turns, just in order to optimize your own energy generation and getting less damage onto yourself. Next spot is going to be now a little bit more of the endgame stuff. We want to take a look here a little bit more at the stuff that you really need to kind of figure out along the way, most likely, but something that's very important. Next topic is going to be predicting the opponent's teams and also the endgame strategy. What I mean with this is it is very important to basically know what the meta is looking like, what cores are kind of common. For example, again, as said before, like you could think about the Zumrel and a low Marek core. There are better cores right now as well, like we had before in seasons, cores of the Medicham and Bastion, for example, which is a very common one. And basically, if you predict, like if you see like one of those Pokemon on the lead, you can predict that the opponent has the other counterpart in the back. Generally speaking, for example, for Medicham, its Pokemon does not really matter anymore, but it's easy kind of to see. Medicham, for example, has a weakness to Flying type Pokemon and Fairy type Pokemon. So you could imagine that the opponent is going to have at least one Pokemon in the back that is going to be good against those. How are your Pokemon matching up against potential Pokemon that are good against these kind of types? For example, a Bastion is going to be able to beat both Fairy type and Flying type Pokemon. Maybe you have like a Swampert in the lead. Do you have to keep your Swampert around? Stuff like this is, of course, the end game stuff, like the stuff that's really gonna make a difference of if you're going to climb up really high towards Legend or not, because predicting the opponent's team, predicting on which Pokemon you're gonna need, on how to swap out is very important, and this kind of also on how to find out which Pokemon are important for your end game strategy. You kind of need to always kind of think about like PvP as like kind of putting your chess pieces in a certain position to try to find a way to manipulate the end game so you can win the battle in terms of. Sometimes games just play out where you just tap and you just can have like those standard matchups, but a lot of times you actually kind of want to preserve certain Pokemon for later on, preserve energy on certain Pokemon. Do you want to use a shield on this one? Do you not want to use a shield on this one? It's kind of those strategies that are going to be end game material where you kind of definitely can get some extra wins if you especially predict the backline. And the easiest way of kind of predicting the opponent's team is, for example, watching my top team videos. There are other creators that do similar stuff now as well. Just like knowing kind of what teams are popular are very, very important. It's very nice as well to also even maybe team build against those in order to get some free wins against them. You can definitely kind of catch people off guard with this as well. A lot of people copy YouTuber teams as well, which is fine, especially if you copy my teams, of course, but you can also kind of go against them and kind of counter those. The second to last one here that I kind of want to talk about is energy management. We already talked a little bit about fast move management in terms of when to go for the fast moves, when to go for the charge moves. But energy management is also kind of important because it can go kind of two ways. One thing, like for energy management is, for example, you can try to get as much energy before the opponent, before you throw a charge move, even though you already have the charge move, just so the opponent is not going to be able to go for their own charge move beforehand. What I mean kind of with this is, for example, you have a Swampert, which now gets to a charge move after 5 fast moves, which is going to be a Hydrocan. You maybe battle against the Talonflame again. You can, for example, go up to 7 fast moves of your own, even though you already have the Hydrocan after 5 of them, because you know for at least the first standard duration where you don't have any previous energy or whatever, the Talonflame cannot get to a charge move unless they go for 3 of their own fast moves, because they need at least like 50, or no, it's I think 45 energy for Fly nowadays in order to get a move off. And so you can always go for basically 7 mud shots with a Swampert, and you can overfarm energy with that one before the opponent can go for a charge move. So like you basically just get free energy with that one. You can take that energy for later on, and keeping energy for later matchups is insanely important for the Go Battle League. But not only this, knowing when the opponent has their energy is also super important for the energy management. Again, as said before, the opponent's Talonflame usually gets their first charge move, or like always gets their first charge move, up after 15 turns or like 3 Incinerates. And so if you know this, you can also go ahead and go for 7 mud shots and then try to swap out onto the opponent's potential charge move into a Pokemon that can resist those. So knowing the energy of the opponent and knowing your own energy are very important assets for winning in the Go Battle League, and something that can definitely help you moving forward with this one. Especially catching moves is very important later on, as this can help you out, especially in like tough scenarios to come back, and like those things where you maybe only have the one choice of catching like a high energy move or something like this on a low HP Pokemon in order to use it as like a third shield. And it's like very important for you to later on to try to master and try to figure that one out. The last step here that I kind of want to talk about is going to be, in my opinion, one of the most important, most underrated one. It is rewatching your own gameplay. It's something that I do the entire time, of course, for YouTube now, but even back in the day, I was recording my battles all the time, rewatched them, I sent them to like YouTubers as well, like Yang or Zayanik, who featured my battles already before I even had YouTube. But generally speaking, I just especially looked at my losses. Your losses are your easiest way of learning on how to get better in PvP, because if you can figure out a win con for a loss that you had there, and you can basically use it for the next time you have like a similar matchup, you're going to be able to win so many more battles. Literally, rewatching your own gameplay, seeing what you can do better is the best way of learning on kinda, yeah, how to improve on something. Like, just think about when you take a look at the gameplay again, like it's usually a little bit easier to take a look at the gameplay after you record it and not during the time that you're actually doing the battles. Like, you can think about stuff a little bit easier, like a little bit longer, but think about what could I have done differently. Could I have predicted the backline from the opponent? Could I have kept maybe a little bit more energy there? Did I maybe wrongly count like moves from the opponent? What are the issues they have in the gameplay? Like, why does the opponent have that opportunity? Is it just a loss because of team composition, which happens a lot of times as well? Like, a lot of times you're going to just lose the battles just based on what Pokemon the opponent brought and what Pokemon you bring. And that's totally fine. You cannot avoid those, by the way. Like, you're not going to have a single person here that's going to be able to win every single battle. That's just not going to happen. But you're basically going to be able to most likely find out a lot of things to improve yourself on. And this is something that helped me out the most when I tried to get better at PvP. And that's definitely the biggest thing that I can give to you as well with that one. Just rewatch your gameplay. It's a simple thing. It can help you out super much. Keep track of it. Maybe keep track of the meta that you see. Like, write down the teams that you encounter to see what kind of course you encounter as well. It is very easy, and it's a very easy way of kind of trying to figure out on how to improve. But yeah, this is going to be my 10-step list here on how to start into PvP and how to get better into PvP for you to hit Legend eventually. Hopefully this helped you out. If it did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. If you want to see more content like this, then let me know down below as well what you would like to see. Maybe I'm going to do more in-depth stuff about like the certain topics that we have here. I could do basically for every kind of step an own video of like 10-20 minutes. But of course, I kind of want to make this a little bit easier and faster for you to understand. So you have basically everything here kind of together to check that out. But yeah, this is going to be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I will see you then. Bye bye.